Alright, so it's story time here about the Jetta, which we haven't got an update video on probably over a month now, and it's been about that long since I've driven the car. So I'm going to take you through why. So for those of you that don't know, this is my '02 Volkswagen Jetta, ALH, engine code, TDI, 5-speed car. Love it to death. And my last big project with it is I was putting a front-mounted intercooler on it because I had just got done doing the turbo, and I thought, man, cooler intake air temps can't be a bad thing, right? And heck, I thought a front-mounted intercooler would be pretty darn cool. So, you know, I got poking around on the forums, got a good idea what I wanted to do. I got a video on some of the updates, putting it all in there. And once it was all done, I kind of expected using these, I don't know if you can see them, those blue like silicone couplers on the piping. I kind of expected that I was going to have some issues with, you know, things popping apart and having to adjust it a little bit, tighten it down, whatever. And so, like the first test drive of the car after everything was together, it had a small boost leak, and this one held. It just, as the boost pressure went up, you could hear it leak more. As you let off, you could hear it leak less. So we came back here, we made like a homemade pressure tester out of like PVC and excuse me, a black Fernco coupler. I think it's called Fernco. The like rubber couplers you can use to attach PVC after you cut PVC. It's rated for 0 PSI, but it was going to work. We just needed a couple pounds of pressure to be able to spray it with some stuff and see what works. That's actually in the video. And interestingly, that blew up in my face, actually. I put too much pressure in it, and that Fernco thing popped off, and I like moved my head out of the way, although I don't think it was in the path anyway, and it bounced off the bottom side of my hood, and I have never found it. And I've cleaned the barn like 3 times since then, and I have never found that white PVC cap with a valve stem in it since then, ever. So, where it went, I don't know. I was really only looking where I thought it would go, which is not that far. Perhaps it went in the far corner of the barn. I have no clue. So that happened, but we found where the leak was, tightened it down, life was good. Took it out for another test drive. This time I was going to go all the way to town. I'm making a right-hand turn onto a county highway, and I decided I'm going to get on a little bit. And the boost gauge isn't working because, not that it doesn't work, but because it's a mechanical boost gauge and the line just isn't hooked up since I put the new piping in. It was in the factory upper intercooler pipe, which was plastic, and I tapped, and it was super, super easy. I haven't made up my mind where I want to put it yet, so no boost gauge at this point in time. And I make a right-hand turn, I get her up in 3rd gear, and I said I'm going to roll onto it a little bit, you know, see how she pulls, right? And pop, right? And if you've ever like manufactured a very large boost leak, you kind of know what it sounds like. And it sounded like that. So I put it in neutral and coasted the rest of the way into the town. And I turned right onto a side street, put it in a small gravel lot, popped the hood, and this one actually blew the pipe all the way apart. Or not the pipe, but the coupler all the way off the pipe. And ironically, right, these like eBay kits, the pipes, they all have at their factory link, they have that like lip in them to help with the seal, which there's very few places on the car that still exists because I had to cut like everything to length pretty much. There's very few places where I didn't. One of the few places that still is there is up on top where the map sensor goes. and that's where the coupler came off. And that's super, super strange. And I was cranking it down, and I broke the clamp, putting it back together, and then I found another clamp, and it wasn't quite the right size, because the eBay kit came with 2 different sizes. And the second size, like, you have to fight to the death to even get the thread started, so I don't know why they're in there. Really a pain to use. So I went to a farm and home, and I got a different clamp, and I tightened it down. Now, that was all better. And I'd been driving the car for about a week. All was good. So on a Thursday, on Thursdays, I do jiu-jitsu. On Thursdays, I run down, and it's like 120 miles, and I go to train. So in jiu-jitsu, it's about 120 miles each way. So I normally drive, but I hadn't been because I've been doing the turbo and I've been doing the intercooler on the car, so my buddy had been driving. And if you're a car guy, I don't know, but me, I really like to drive. I don't like when other people drive. I'm a terrible passenger. I'm always really, really nervous. You know, I know that I'm paying attention when I'm driving, and I trust my abilities, right? And I trust my track record too. So I offered to drive because although I knew the car wasn't perfect, which I guess I should let you in on here, I offered to drive. And why I knew the car wasn't perfect? Well, do you remember that 0 PSI Fernco PVC coupler garbage that I mentioned earlier? Well, that's somewhere else. It's also on the car. Between the turbo and the pancake pipe. Now the pancake pipe on these cars just refers to the lower intercooler pipe from the factory. Was really narrow, so it's called a pancake pipe because it looked kind of like a pancake from the cross-sectional view of it. And that would run from the turbo. In the factory setup, there was the turbo on the back of the engine toward the underneath the intake. So like if you're underneath the car, you look past the CV axle, like easily see the turbo. And there was some turbo hose off the outlet of the turbo, which on the factory turbo was pointing straight down, and it curved, and that went over and connected to the factory pancake pipe, which went up to the side-mounted intercooler, and there was a little coupler up there. All was good. So this pancake pipe kind of just runs right forward and back along the right or passenger side of the engine between the suspension and the harmonic balancer. And so the one that's on it now is an aftermarket unit for a 1.8 turbo gas Jetta of this generation. Certainly not for this car. And man, it fits. Not by much, but it fits. And it comes up to connect with the turbo, or sorry, its outlet that's on the turbo side, it doesn't connect. It's pointing, if you're looking at the car front to back, it looks like it's pointing straight up. It's not leaning left or right really much at all. But if you look at it from the side, it's probably leaning back 10 or 15 degrees. And the outlet on the turbo that's on it, which is a Borg Warner S7, is horizontal, pointing toward the passenger side of the car. And I put a 2-inch turbo outlet on there, which is just a barb for 2-inch pipe, you know, for the intercooler or whatever, or a coupler or whatever. Also, the end of this pancake pipe is 2 1/4 inches, which is inconvenient. It's at a very inconvenient angle, and it's maybe 4 or 5 inches over. So not a ton of room to work with, not a ton of room to have some wiggle room, really. So what I did, because I didn't have anything to make it work, and I wanted the car to run, and this is silly, I know, but I used some of that Fernco stuff. I used a 90-degree piece that I cut down and made work connect to the pancake pipe. I used a little bit on the hose barb. I used a little bit of just 2-inch exhaust pipe kind of as a connector between those two. And it wasn't touching any of the aluminum anywhere, so I really didn't care. And it worked. And I actually drove it and got on it quite a bit, a couple times before this trip. to go train. That was 125 miles. And it ran fine, so I thought I was good offering to drive. I was just going to take it easy. Everything was going to be okay. Now, this is a story really without any climax or resolution, so it's not very exciting, but I'm just telling it anyway. I get down there, smooth sailing, cruise control going, no issues. Life is good. And I don't know how you guys are. When you work on something, I get a little nervous. Like that first time I take a longer trip after, I like to build up my confidence in the car a little bit. And, you know, so going down there was by far the furthest trip this car had since I'd done this. So I was like, whatever. Anyway, on the way back, I'm driving. And I'm behind some people that want to merge onto the interstate at about 45 miles an hour. And I have a few pet peeves when I'm driving, and poor merging is one of them. And I hate it when the people in front of me are subjecting me to a situation in which I also have to be a bad merger. So anyway, I look in the mirror, I see the next couple lanes are open, spot check super fast. Life is good. Life is good. I'm going to throw her down. Well, I was probably not at the fifth already because I was going 45. So I was in whatever gear, I don't remember. And I think I'm going to get on it. I'm going to get around these people because I had that moment of unhappiness from merging on in a way I didn't think was adequate. And what happened? Pop. Massive boost leak. This was like by far the largest sounding boost leak I've ever created that was not just the pipes totally coming apart. And I had done this before once. I forget what I was doing to the car, but I took some of the couplers off and stuff. I think it's when I did the boost gauge and I took the upper intercooler pipe off. I think one of the couplers didn't go on quite right. So I've done this before where I have some experience with what boost leak in this car sound like. And it was the worst. So I was in the city still and wasn't super familiar with, the exits there. I mean, I drive that part of the road all the time. I just never take the exits. I lucked out because I just kept I took an exit ramp and then there was another choice within the exit ramp. And I went right. It spat me out 1,000 feet from a gas station. So I pull in there and it was bad enough. I figured a couple of the pipes had blown apart and I'd be able to see it, jam it back together. I had spare parts and hose clamps and stuff in the trunk. I'm like, I'm going to see it, I'm going to throw it back together, life is good. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, if I can't find anything, then I definitely messed up that Fernco stuff on the turbo. And if that's the case, I won't be able to fix it. I'll just have to drive the car. And I call all around the car, don't see any issues. So my assumption is that it's the Fernco stuff by the turbo because I really can't see that when the car's on the ground. So I took the jag that comes with the car and jacked it up, and I didn't get under it. I don't trust that thing enough to crawl underneath the car. But I mean, I looked, I still couldn't see anything. And I'm like, screw it, man, we got to get back to teach class that evening. Every time we do, we got to get back to teach. So I was like, and that dude's not really a car guy that was with me, so he was just kind of hanging out. I was like, hey man, it'll be fine, I'll drive back. And I did. Babied the sucker back. It was about 110 miles. I was only 10 or so miles into the drive, about 110 miles to where we were teaching, and then I probably had another 25-minute drive that night home after we got done teaching. And that just felt terrible driving with that massive boost leak. Sounded horrific. And I popped under the car the other day, last night, and looked. And sure as not, it was Fernco stuff. And I figured some of it had ruptured since it is literally rated for 0 PSI. That's what it's rated for. And all that stuff's intact. It must just flex a lot or something because it actually popped apart where that pipe was. There's oil all over the intake, bottom of the intake pipe, which my assumption is that since it popped apart on top, so maybe some of the oil's going up. I mean, it's an oily mess down there. It's not terrible, but it is what it is. So I'll try to get my camera up here underneath the car, show you what's going on. But moral of the story is, you know, I should have already had parts on the way and already done what I think I need to do. So the plan is I ordered some 2-inch silicone turbo pipe, you know, a little bit more what this is supposed to have. It's an 8-inch piece. I also bought a 2 to 2 1/4 coupler adapter, right, from the 2 different sizes. And I'm going to take some 2-inch exhaust pipe because I can weld that really easy. And I'm going to make the bend that I need, and then I'll just cut the pieces, the silicone pieces, to length as I need them. I don't know how it's going to work on the side with the adapter, because obviously the amount of distance it requires to get from 2 1/4 down to 2, that can't be shortened any, if that makes any sense. And that'll be going up. I don't know if that'll put me higher than the elevation of the turbo outlet. So, I mean, we'll see. But I think that this will work a lot better. I'm going to leave the that piece I fabricate out of the exhaust pipe. And again, I'm just using that because I can weld it really easy, and I know I can get it bent and shaped just how I want it to be. I'll leave those really long, and I'll try to double clamp the silicone turbo pipe over that, so hopefully it will be a non-issue. Hopefully I'll be able to get in the car and do some like wide open throttle pulls. I literally have not floored this car since I did the intercooler, which was like only 500 or so miles after I did the turbo. So I'd really just gotten to where I was comfortable really getting on it with the new turbo. So that's, you know, that is what it is. That's an update on the Jetta. So I said, I'm going to get under the car and show you what's going on. It's a mess. It was creative and it did work, but it's a mess and it shouldn't have been done that way. That it is what it is. So let's do that. This is how I know I've had the Jetta in here. Engine oil, transaxle oil. That's what a 1-year-old, if that, CV axle boot looks like. Boo. Yeah, I guess I can't use these tires anymore either. Alright, so here's our super duper uncool custom setup down here. As you see, oil all over everything there. That's where it connects to that pancake pipe I'm talking about. This one's not pancake shaped. This one had oil all down it. I thought it was maybe leaking here as well, but that's just oil that ran down the pipe. I could see the streaks. And then if you look really close up there, there's oil on that coupler above the turbo outlet. That's the intake. And I'm assuming because it just popped apart on the top half of this, that oil was hopefully flying up there. It's all kind of wet up there, so that's the hope. Yep, and this is definitely the issue. Everything else looks a-okay. So this is what we got to be focused on to fix.